So fill me in with Mickey here.
Yeah, we got him since he was a baby, 2 months old. He's 5 years old now. Issue-wise, things we want to train on, definite separation anxiety. Screams like a human when we leave, like literally screams. I feel like basically visual things like...
His anxiety kind of distracts him.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know, other things we really want to work on. There's certain people he's okay with, certain people he's not. We don't know what the reasoning is. We've noticed he's not great with older men, like grade older men. Not sure why, but every time he sees a grade older man, he's not okay with them.
What does that look like?
Just
literally
basically
something
if you're a
like
man
older,
over the age of 60.
Yeah, it's every time, like any of my grandparents, like great uncles.
But is it like you're standing on the street and like some older gentleman tries to pet
It's usually
him?
when they're coming in the home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not on the street or anything that he'll run to anybody. It's
Okay.
just coming in the home.
Sure.
I feel like separation anxiety is the biggest. He was attacked by another dog in May.
I remember.
Yeah, full contact. You might see like he got shaved right here, had like the tubes in him.
Oh wow.
He's okay now, but
So there was actual
definitely-
punctures and everything?
Punctures,
Okay.
yeah, they're pretty deep. And he's definitely been more like
Timid, apprehensive.
yeah, just more like things will scare him that never scared him before, like moving a garbage can or something.
Okay.
He'll like jump, but we haven't noticed anything crazy, like major change since then.
Sure.
Just a little more anxious, a little more jumpy.
Okay.
But yeah, anxiety, separation anxiety is a huge thing.
Aggression
I
towards
feel like
older male dogs.
Yeah, aggression, sometimes towards
Bigger, not
certain people, bigger dogs. We've noticed it's mainly male dogs. I think it's pretty much male dogs. I've never seen him like be aggressive towards a female dog, and we definitely socialize a lot. So
Okay.
yeah.
Is this on leash or like at the dog park?
On leash.
On leash, yeah.
We really haven't gone to dog
But
parks
off leash
in the
too.
city much.
My sister's dogs, they're both boys, and he's not a fan. But then he's fine with Vito, my brother's dog.
But has he like kind of grown up with Vito?
Yeah, he knew.
Yeah, you know Vito when he was a puppy.
Yeah.
He'll definitely still like snap at him, but never make contact or anything
Okay.
like that.
When does he snap at him?
If Vito gets in his face too much. Or,
Sure.
Vito likes to put his mouth around Mickey
Definitely.
or slap him on the face.
He definitely has
doesn't like
aggression.
them a
Yeah,
lot.
he definitely has aggression around food. Dogs, I'm sure it's, you know, normal. But yeah, if you're like near another dog, he has a bone in the dog.
If they nip his ears too, he gets very, very.
We're listing a lot of things, but yeah, he is sensitive about his ears. We notice a lot of people like to touch his ears because they're funny. He's fine with me touching them, but if other people like go like this, he'll kind of like not actually make contact, but again snap and
Warning him.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of stuff. But
Anything else about Mickey here?
nothing on the top of my head.
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, it can be again. It's like he can be apprehensive for some people, not everybody. But we haven't really found like the signals for it yet. Really, we have one friend that comes over all the time. And he's always weird with her. He doesn't snap at her because he's used to her by now, but he's still like she'll just get up and he'll like run towards her. It's very random. And then we have other friends that he'll struggle with and he hasn't seen in years. So yeah, it's kind of random. Anxiety.
The people that he's fully comfortable with are these people he's known like since he was a puppy? Or is it even like other people he's known since he was a puppy?
Yeah, we have 2 roommates. Come here, bud. We have 2 roommates and another dog that lives with us as well. Older female, not older, bigger female dog. And he's totally fine with that. He's totally fine with my parents, grown up with that, your parents, your family.
He's
Definitely
met
people.
my cousins, and other people
People
for the
he's
first
grown up
time.
with, yeah.
Totally fine with them, but then there are others like
You're fine.
her uncle, he's known his whole life, and he's still very standoffish with him,
Yeah, it's
and he never did
random.
anything to him.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's a mix.
What's the uncle's energy like? Is he like boisterous or anything?
Oh yeah, he's loud, energetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Okay. So, a lot of stuff makes sense to me. So like, people when it comes to like social dogs, it's like this expectation that they're gonna like everyone and everything, and it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
People don't do that, right? So I don't understand why people think dogs do that. So, like right now when you said there's like this one person, and I go, are they boisterous? You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
How do I know that?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Because I know dogs, And whenever I hear certain things, I go, okay, it's most likely this, okay? The triggering when someone moves, is that correct? Like
Yeah,
on occasion?
yeah.
That's a nervous response.
Yeah.
Okay? The nervous energy, most of the time, not all the time, does not like boisterous energy, loud energy. Okay? So all that falls in line with the nervous dog. We have, I know one for sure, I actually saw earlier today, same stuff. Actually had two dogs. And then it was funny because I was training one on Monday, and I was like, how does your dog like, because it's a neighborhood, and I've trained I trained 3 dogs. And then I got another 3 dogs from that group of people that I'm training now. And so they all know each other.
That's so funny.
And the one dog's Luna, and we're talking, she's a nervous dog. And I was like, how does Luna go with, react to Melissa? Because Melissa's very loud, and she's very outspoken. She's a very boisterous, kind of positive energy. And she's like, oh yeah. She's like, I'm like, that's what I thought. We're going to use that to our advantage because that's how we get dogs used to that stuff. So there's things, with fear, nervous, anxious dogs that I can kind of pick out things and I go, yep, that's pretty standard for that personality type.
Yeah.
So it's nothing bad. The people coming in and, just noticing that it's towards older gentlemen. Mm-hmm. The older gentleman part doesn't really, I'm like, that's kind of like a little quirk. But people coming into the home is fairly common because it's territorial behavior. Most dogs, like 90 to 95% of dogs are territorial, except when someone walks. If the dog absolutely loves people, it's like bark, 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 who's here? And then when you open the door, they're like, I love you.
Yeah.
Like it's just a switch, right? So then the people come in, the dog's all excited. But then there are other dogs that are a bit more suspicious and they're not so trusting. And it's like knock, 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 and they're like, who's there? And then they open the door, they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
And if not handled correctly, the dogs stay stuck in this like, who are you and why are you in the house now? Because as stupid as it sounds, dogs will understand that when you open the door and you let a guest in, that you're inviting that guest in. Dogs don't connect that. Okay? There has to be a bit more conversation saying like, look, thanks for letting us know, but you can chill out, relax. This is our guest. So then when they're relaxed and you're bringing that guest in, it's more so like, I trust this person and that's why they're coming in. So like, okay, cool, so I don't have to be so uptight about it. Okay? Now with people that he's known since he's a puppy, and that's why I asked about like with Vito, is typically with dogs, before 6 months or before a incident happens, almost all the time anybody or any dog they met prior is okay.
Yeah.
Okay? So like I get dogs that get attacked that get 9 months. When they're 9 months old. And the owner will say like, the dog plays with dogs, but new dogs, just forget about it. I'm like, yeah, because something happened, and after that, they're like, I'm not going to trust any dog other than the dogs I grew up with, or already do, or humans, right? Super common, and it could be at 2 years, it's usually around 6 months to a year, those 2 times. If someone's dog like kind of makes a 180, I'll ask them like, was there any kind of traumatic experience? And they'll say, well, now that I think about it, at the dog park when they were 7 months, they were attacked, and I go, okay, that's the trigger. Okay, so dogs, it's funny because dogs don't generalize when it comes to obedience stuff, but when it comes to like, oh, I was attacked by a dog, then the next day it's like, I hate all dogs, right? Yeah. So then prior to the attack a few months ago, how was Mickey with like on-leash interactions?
Good. Like we have a dog that's a few houses down from us that she got him as a puppy, boy, which she usually doesn't like male dogs, and loved him. We'd always meet on the street. They'd hang out, whatever. Sniffy loved him. Now the dog's getting much bigger. Not a fan. But attack, I don't feel like there was this big 180 difference with him. We really tried not to let him meet other dogs on leash after that happened. I don't know why. We were apprehensive about it.
Right, but like, let's say prior to the attack, right?
Prior to it, how was he?
Yeah.
He's always been kind of defensive.
Defensive?
Usually
Okay.
take to the bed.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
That kind of stuff. He would be protected whenever he was on leash.
Okay. So like the touching of the ear.
One more thing. I'm sorry, this is a big thing. He hates when we hug other people.
Yeah.
He hates if I high five somebody. He like will lunge, like not attacking, but like hates it. He doesn't like when, I don't know if it's us or when people in general hug or high five or handshake. It is the weirdest thing in the world. But he doesn't like if we hug. He does not like it. I don't know what that is. Anxiety as well.
That's probably resource guarding.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's very similar.
Okay.
Nothing else. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I've never seen that.
Yeah, no, it's not the most common thing, but it happens.
Like,
A lot of times it happens between the owners.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, like, because like if I come into your personal space and like, hey, that's resource guarding.
Yeah.
Okay? The other thing I always look at is the energy. So if you're like, hey, goodbye, and they're like hugging this big energy, that's nervous response.
Yeah.
Right? But it seems like he has these issues with people doing the action, when it could be the energy around the action, or it can be someone coming into your personal space to give you that high five, and he's going, yo, you're getting too close to my mom.
Yeah.
That's where that's coming from. Okay?
That's
But
right.
I'm not,
I just
that's
wanna
easy.
mention
I'm not worried about
That's a
that.
weird thing. Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like he just he's a bit of a male diva,
Yeah.
right? He's like, hey, there's these things, and I'm gonna set these rules. Okay. So nothing here that you've mentioned is concerning. Okay, like it's all stuff that I deal with on a regular basis. Any questions for me before I get started? So you know what Vito we usually call her? Or we usually call her, right?
Yeah.
All my dogs, after they're 6 months, we train them on e-collar. Every now and then I might make an exception and use a prong collar, which is like that spiky looking one.
We use that, yeah, when we use the puppy.
When you use a pup. I have no problems with it. It's a great tool. It's just, it's like, why do any other method of e-collar is the best method?
Yeah.
I'm like, if that, like right off the bat, we get off leash control. Like, why would I just do anything
Vito has been like, we live 5 minutes away from my brother and come over all the time.
Sure.
Remember his first training? I think you guys started with like
Place.
being on the cot, yeah, and he can't move. And I walked in and he'll usually lunge at me and like hug, whatever.
Sure.
And I walked in and he was sitting on the bed and he had his collar on and Becca was like, you can go.
Yeah. So e-collar is super effective. Gets off leash control, so we get the recall. Like with Vito's case, because he said at the dog park, if you got a toy, you would guard it.
Yep.
I go, not a problem with e-collar, because then you can either not allow him to get the toy in the first place, or you can get him to release it before something happens, without needing to be on a leash.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like, that's what e-collar for me is the best tool, because they go up to a mile in range, which is obviously far more than enough for the average family pet. But it's at the press of a button and I have control. Okay. So, and when it comes to behavior cases, it's a neutral. The dog doesn't know where it's coming from. So like, if I have a fear aggressive dog and they're trying to like lunge at me, if the owner corrects them, for the dog, it's hard to understand because in their mind, it's a valid response. I'm scared of you, so I'm going to, fight or flight. I'm going to attempt to bite you or whatever to scare you away because I don't want to get hurt. Okay?
Yeah.
Then the owner corrects him for that. And the dog goes, why the hell would you correct me? I'm scared. I'm just trying to protect us. Okay? If I correct the dog with the prong collar, then the dog goes, this is exactly why I'm scared of you because I thought you were going to hurt me. You weren't hurting me too.
Yeah.
With the e-collar, the dog doesn't know where it's coming from. He doesn't see this pulling action. Okay? So that's how we counter condition dogs. And like if it's like an antisocial dog that doesn't like people and stuff, we can do like reverse psychology, where when the dog tries to run away from the strange person, we remote them until eventually they run to the person, and the dog goes, hey, when I run away from you, negative happens. When I come to you, negative goes away. So then we reverse psychology, and the dog goes, I guess I can trust you because every time I try to leave you, this happens. The dog doesn't know that's us manipulating that practice. Okay. And when it comes to obedience stuff, it's very simple. We get very effective obedience relatively quickly because of the way I use the e-collar. Not everybody uses the e-collar the same way. I feel like people baby. We just had a session right now where people baby dogs too much.
Yeah.
Okay, and they keep them in this like little limbo of not getting better and like not getting worse, right? So dogs do not ease each other into life. Okay, so like, if there's a litter of 8 puppies and one of those puppies can't get to a nipple to nurse, dead.
Yeah.
Find a way or you're gonna die. Right? Sure, you can hear about stories where like the mother will like go out their way to nurse the one puppy, but it's very rare. It's not on a regular basis where I would say dogs are compassionate and save all the puppies. Okay. They also like if you go to the dog park, they don't say like, hey, these are the rules of the dog park. Please don't bounce another dog. Don't bark at another dog. Like humans do. Say if he does something, or if he were to do something, if he went to a dog park that was inappropriate to a dog, they would just fight him and say, don't do that. They're too physical. Okay? He does it himself. You said it. I can touch his ears, but if somebody else does, he doesn't aren't, right? Now he's not being aggressive, but he's saying, no, don't touch my ears. I don't know you, right? So he's using that physicality to establish that boundary. It's perfectly normal, in my opinion, it's healthy. Because he's doing it on a balanced degree. Now, if you're like, if you just like barely touch the ear, he just like launches at you, then I go, that's not good.
Yeah.
I get the boundary, but he's going too far. So it's like with people, everybody gets angry, but we usually escalate. Like there's steps to it, right? Before someone might get so frustrated they punch somebody. But there's people that go straight to punching somebody, right? It's the same, I look at it the same way. Some dogs go straight to biting for the slightest thing, and other dogs you would gradually piss them off until eventually you get that bite. Okay? That's how I look at it. We're not that different. Okay? They get scared, we get scared. They get anxious, we get anxious. They get nervous, we get nervous. They have boundaries, we have boundaries, right? So it's all the same stuff, but I think just with like most people's interactions with like friendly dogs, so they just assume all dogs are friendly and all contact. And then I even have people like, my dog is great until there's food around, right? Then they try to bite me, right? But 99% of the time my dog's a good dog. I'm like, well then your dog's a resource starter, but they have a hard time seeing their dog that way in that context because of all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And I go, then that's just your dog. You know, I know if I stay out of that context, I don't have any problem. Essentially, you know, we work on it, but that's how I look at it.
That's kind of what we've been trying to do. Like, we know he's not a party dog, bring your dog everywhere, bring him to a party with 100 people, so we don't do that.
That's fine.
We stay home or we stay home with him. We try to do that, know his limits and not bring him into a venue.
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely things we want.
Yeah, there's stuff that are real. There's stuff that's realistic.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I care about the most. If it was going to be for whatever reason realistic that Mickey would have to be like in an environment with 100 people, then I would say, hey, it sucks, but it's going to be realistic for you at some point, so we have to do it, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could care less. So I'm assuming our goals here would be to the territorial behavior in the home. I'm not too worried about the people touching his ears. That would be like, I just tell people don't touch my dog's ears.
Yeah, we're just like, don't touch your ears.
Yeah. Unless it's a groomer or something where they have to do it, you know, that's a little bit different. Otherwise, I'm just like, leave them alone. General obedience, like walking on a leash, that's the core of everything.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the foundation for everything. So like I have a case right now where the dog is super territorial over the home, super reactive, and I go, I understand our priority is the behavior stuff, but we need this first before we can do any of that stuff. Okay?
Yeah.
Because that's what tells the dog or teaches the dog how the e-collar works, how it turns on, how it turns off. It also teaches you how to use it. Okay? So once we get that foundation down, then we start to branch out and I go, now we're going to tackle the other things. Okay? So the territorial stuff in the home is not a problem. Not worried about the ear thing. The resource starting with other dogs.
Yeah.
Okay? Not a problem. I can't teach him to share things. And it's not that I can't teach him to share. It's just, it's too complicated for the average dog owner. So all we do is I go, all right, if you can't share a ball, then you can't have the ball when there's dogs around.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Okay, so that's just easy as well. What were the other, and then the movements in the home, like if somebody gets up and they start barking,
Yeah.
that may resolve itself simply through the leash walking stuff. Otherwise, we can address that too.
Yeah, it's not any of us, it's not roommates, it's just somebody's over and
Sure.
you get to know them and bring a table and they get up, they'll be
Yeah.
run towards them. But yeah.
So that can, one, be stopped, or two, the exercise around the leash walking, because it's the heel exercise calms dogs down.
Okay.
So I have a dog right now, her name's Ruthie, and the first class, she's like all over the place. And on class 2, she is passive. She is super calm. They're like, all her barking at people stopped, all of this stopped. She barks less in the house because she wasn't on, her stress level was up all the
That's
time.
all on e-collar.
Correct. Okay, she's a 6-month-old puppy.
Yeah.
She's probably like his size, just not a little, she's taller now because she's grown, but when she first started, she's about his size. But it was just literally one class, 1 week of e-collar, they're like, yeah, she's like so calm now. Because dogs bite each other, and that physicality is what just gets them to shut things down. So like a week or so ago, we had a dog get off leash and attack me and my employees.
Okay. Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, did you see? Yeah. So the dog got off leash and it went to attack us. Well, it wasn't the neighbor's dog.
No?
This was a client's
Oh,
dog.
I didn't know that.
So the dog went to actually attack us, right?
Yeah.
So the dog charges to attack, and I'm like, well, if you're gonna bite me, I'm gonna defend myself. So I started kicking, and I landed 3 hits on the dog. And on the 3rd hit, the dog took it, and the dog goes, fuck, and ran to the owner and sat down. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This dog bites the owner's dog. This is an aggressive dog.
Was it the, it looked like a pit bull?
No.
Okay.
No, so the off-leash dog that was a pity, but this dog was an Australian Shepherd.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it was a client, they had just started the first class on a Tuesday, and on Thursday they needed to drop their dog off the board with us.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't accept the muzzle correction, so she popped out, and then she went and charged after him. So I go, all right, you want to play that game? Here we go.
That's what you did. You were
So,
the owner was not around.
yeah, I mean, you got to protect the dog. So in this case, I was protecting myself and my employees, and I landed 3 kicks, and on the 3rd kick, the dog yelped, ran behind the owner, sat down, and funny enough, when they were trying to muzzle her in the beginning, she kept jumping and bucking all around.
Yeah.
So she was really stressed out. After I corrected her owner muzzled her up, no problem. And the owner even said, like, holy, like, wow, she didn't fight me on that. And I said, because since there was consequence, she went from 10 to 0.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that consequence is more confrontational. With e-collar, it's not confrontational because he doesn't know where it's coming from, and it's very indirect the way that we layer it in. Okay. But that consequence, that physicality, calms dogs down. Okay. That's how they communicate. But when they go with the human typically doesn't do physicality because they're either scared of making things worse or they don't know how to do it correctly.
It doesn't make sense. We always, it's like consequence-wise, our usual thing is like kennel. We go in the kennel.
Yeah,
But
dogs don't do timeout.
didn't do anything.
Yeah, he doesn't reflect like, oh, I charged at my
They're not
auntie.
reflecting.
Yeah, right. Like he's not
pondering
sitting
on
there.
what happened.
So he's all about in the moment. So if he like in that case, the dog charged me. So I go, okay, here's the consequence for charging me, and I won. And the dog goes, I'm not going to screw with you. And afterwards, we took the dog inside, no problem. And I handled the dog, no problem. There was no tension because it's situational. The dog was like, all right, when I was in a heightened state, you checked me, but now we're good. Right? And there was no conflict between us because of how I handled it. Like I didn't like continue to go after her. I achieved what I wanted, which was, hey, you do not want to do that with us. You want to disengage, right?
Yeah.
So that's how dogs are. Okay, humans, they attach emotions to things, or they think about things too much or whatever. They feel guilty. That's where problems start to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there anything else that I'm missing in terms of trying to address the key here?
No.
There's territorial behavior. There's a resource guarding. The nervous reaction when people move too quickly.
Just bigger dogs, bigger boy dogs.
Okay, and that's bigger dogs approaching.
In general.
Yeah, I mean, if we see if we're walking, there's another big dog even on the other side of
It's
the street.
been on the leash for like.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Not big.
technically the heel can solve that as well.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be dialed into you, he's not going to care about the dog, right? Now, it makes sense. How big was the dog that attacked you?
It was big.
That was a bigger dog, okay?
Yeah, it was like a pit bull American bulldog.
So it would make sense to me that he's going to have a harder time getting over that class
Yeah.
because of that event.
And he's had it before. Even before that, like bigger dog. Yeah.
Sure, that didn't help the
It's
situation.
gonna help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it approaches. So like most people think that when we come in, we look for the problem, punish the dog. That's completely not how we want to go about it.
Yeah.
First thing I do is just structure. Okay, very simple, focus, relax, consequence, and go, what does this fix? Okay? And then you come back class 2, and I'm like, how'd it go? You're like, Jesse, you saw a bunch of big dogs on and off leash. She was great, no problem.
Yeah.
Right? And I go, awesome. And I'll ask, like, how close were they? And you might say 5 feet. So I'm like, okay, we know we're good at 5 feet.
Yeah.
But this is going to be very different. Okay? That's part of the process. And then the people coming in the home, that's going to be a different thing. The leash walking wouldn't have anything to do with that. Potentially, when people come over, when they move and stuff, you might find him not react anymore because he's not going to be on edge because he's been settled, much like that dog from before. Okay. If it doesn't work that way, no big deal. We just have to approach it differently. Okay. But the first thing I do almost all the time is I go, feel, what does it fix?
Yeah.
Okay. After that, if everything is going great, obedience-wise or like behavior-wise, then we just keep teaching more obedience. Okay, so it's more discipline, more control. Feel has to happen. It's at least 2 classes. The next important thing that I teach is recall or come when cold. For me, it's the most important command. You need to get off leash, either by accident or whatever. You want to know how you can back. And then the two classes, because so I have 369 12-week program. You're like in that 6-week range.
Yeah.
Right? So the way I approach it is, I go, what do you need? What do you want? Okay, I look at the dog. I think it's what you need, and this is what I would recommend. The longer the program, the more control you get. Okay. So like I got people doing 12-week programs because they want full off-leash control.
I think that's
He did, I think he did,
He
I
wanted
think it was 9 or
to,
12, but they had behavior involved because of the kid thing, right? So I told them, hey, obedience-wise, you're doing great. Save these classes for the kids, you know, when we cover that.
I know. He was like, yeah,
We
they
need a
want us to
sacrificial
get
lamb.
a kid. He's like, we have to find a kid that we can bring.
Yeah.
So far in our family, we don't really have any small kids yet.
Yeah.
Funny, our sister's due in October. He's like, can we use your baby? No. She's like, no.
Yeah. I remember he was like, we're looking for a sacrificial lamb.
That's literally what they're doing. I'm like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. So, in your case, it's fairly simple.
Yeah.
The behavior stuff seems complex, but when it comes to behavior, it's simply aversive for things you don't want. So like I was raised old school, I was spanked. So if I didn't do my homework, if I talked back to my mom, or if I stayed up too late, spank. One consequence for a multitude of behaviors, right?
Yeah.
Dogs bite. Don't mount me, don't bark at me, don't get next to my food. Bite. Right? So once you understand that concept, obedience takes a while because they're not meant to like sit when you say sit. They're not meant to lay down when you say down. That's a human thing. So that we have to teach. But when it comes to behavior, it's just don't do that. And here's the consequence.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why it's so simple. And once you understand that concept, then all of a sudden what seemed like 10 different things, it's like just one thing. You know what I mean? Like two words at all. Questions so far?
Not really, no. I definitely am pro the shock collar training. I know a lot of people are like, oh, how could you? But it's not.
I always, like on my Instagram actually, so on my Instagram I've been putting highlight videos.
I've been watching it,
Yeah, all those dogs are e-collar, right?
Yeah.
And one of those dogs in particular has been to like multiple trainers, and then nobody's had any change, and I come in one class and all of a sudden the dog went 80 because discipline. Okay. So the way we approach it is logical. We start low, we work our way up. I don't know what Mickey's number is going to be. Mickey knows. It could be 10, it could be 100%. Okay. So we have like a handful of dogs right now. Whose numbers, they're resting numbers, which means the number that works almost every day is like 95.
Yeah.
Okay. Most of my dogs are like 15 to 35 range.
It doesn't really depend on size.
Yeah, it could be size, breed, personality type, anxious, nervous, fearful, doesn't matter. It's just the dog. Okay. So that's what the first class is. We figure out what Mickey's all about, what the number is. You get a feel for how it works, and then go, here's your homework, and then you come back, and we're just each week just kind of playing it by ear.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of when does the e-collar go away, in my opinion, when you need it, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys drive?
Yep.
You go on the expressway? Do you have the speed limit? You do? Most of the time, or
Okay. Flow of traffic.
I go fast.
you go fast, right? Most people don't go the speed limit, right? It's called opportunistic behavior. The reason why we don't go the speed limit is because there's no squad car, there's no risk of a ticket. But if people see a squad car, all of a sudden everybody's going the speed limit. Right? So I look at the e-collar as a cop on a collar. When you need it, you have it on. Outside on the walk, if you're straight inside and you don't need it when, whatever, then you don't have it. Guests are going to come over, and maybe you're going to have a guest come over that's not his favorite person, have it on, right? Now, inside the home, you're much more likely to progress past the e-collar because you spend most of your time in the home, okay? So or you might find you use it for the first 15 minutes when people come over, and then he relaxes, and then you don't need it anymore. The dog's fine. Every case is different, okay? But definitely when you're outside, because you can't account for life, fireworks, dogs running up off leash, things like that, you want to have it with you. And it's not that you're always using it, it's just present. So then he's like, oh, that cop is there, I need to behave myself.
Yeah,
okay?
so that's been a thing, like when dogs have it on, they know, right?
Yeah, they're not
Kinda,
stupid.
yeah.
I mean, it's like people. You see a squad car, all of a sudden you're obeying the law, right?
Okay.
So it's the same thing for dogs. It's just opportunistic behavior. If a human can get away with something, and they're that personality type, they're gonna do it. Almost all dogs are like that, okay? If because they don't think, and humans know better, by the way, right? And we still do stuff. Dogs, they don't do anything out of malice. They just do it because they're animals. They're driven by instinct, and opportunistic behavior is how survival, how that works, you know? So if a bunch of like animals, and there's a watering pond here, and they see the alligator or whatever clear the pond, all of a sudden, all the animals go to drink water because they're like, this threat is gone. When the threat comes back, all the animals go away. That's opportunistic behavior, okay? So, because they're like, they're so good, why do you still need to use a collar, this and that? I see dogs on YouTube, and I go, well, one, look at the setting. A lot of times when you see those dogs on YouTube, it's a very bland environment. They're inside an empty room. They're at the park with nobody there. Like literally, you watch the videos, pay attention, and you'll start to notice, like, holy crap, like the dog isn't really well trained because it's a completely empty environment. And also, like if you use food,
Oh no, making food for the. I
there's
can't
still.
tell if it's plays it or if it's I'm gonna lunge.
It's gonna launch.
Oh, he's gonna lunge. You can tell.
So go ahead and just pull straight up here, up, and then pull back to your left leg. Okay, and then you're gonna pull straight up, and with your right hand, grab the leash here, and then press down on his butt with your left hand.
With this hand?
Yeah, and then relax. Okay, up again, and then pressure on the hindquarters, and relax. There you go. So here, when he was in that state, and you're pulling back, that pulling back is actually telling him to line up, and down on the butt, and then relax. Okay, this isn't the answer. This is just a reader. Up. Yeah, he still wants to do it for sure.
No, I mean you can tell him looking at me being like, why are you doing this?
Why are you
You never
doing
do
this?
this
Yeah.
to me.
There you go. So if you do this, you're priming him to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why you have to get up, relax. Yeah. Back escalates, up de-escalates. Now harness also makes reactivity worse because it puts tension on the chest and it creates agitation. Okay. Yeah. So like we use that for protection training when we want to make a dog aggressive. We use harness.
Yeah, we definitely give off buns of collars. Sometimes when we're walking, like to
Sure.
a point, which I'm sure you've done with point of like, and he won't stop.
Yeah.
We'll walk for an hour and he will continue.
Yeah. Because dogs are simple animals. You know, like they bite each other. So like that, to the human, they're like, oh my God, just throw. But the dog's like, we bite each other. I don't care. Like this is worthwhile. You know.
Yeah.
So, dog logic and human logic are very different. Okay. So, does that all make sense with the e-collar?
Yeah.
So like with the food, either it's not going to matter because it's too distracting outside, or two, you're always having to use it just like you have to use the e-collar. Except with the e-collar, the actual use of it becomes less and less as you train the dog more. It's just there like if somebody randomly blows up a firework and he's running away for his life, I couldn't account for that, but I can make him sure. Okay? How much does he weigh?
24, 25.
So the collar he would need is a 35-pound dog and under.
Okay.
It runs about 237 with tax.
Yeah.
It's a half-mile range and it's fully waterproof, so you can swim in it. The remote is waterproof as well. They last a really long time. I've had mine 8 years.
Oh, awesome.
So, you know, they're pricey, but in my opinion, it's the best brand, and they're super reliable. You'll find some that are cheap, $30 to $40. They crap out after a month, and then you're just, you know, after six of them, you're like, my person, you bought one good one.
Yeah.
The program I recommend is a 6-class program,
Okay.
and then we just play it by ear. You do have to do your homework, right? What's great about e-collar as well is I don't have to touch the dog anymore. 99% of the time, I can just coach through it. It's very logical. It's very simple, the exercises. And once you get a feel for it, it's stacked. Like all the concepts kind of just build off each other. So once you get the first class or two, it's like, oh, this makes complete sense. And as you do more stuff, it's super simple.
Yeah.
Okay? Nothing is attached to me. Everything's attached to you. You're learning everything from ground zero. Whereas before, I would work with the dog and then give it to the owner. But then the dog, like I would work through all the problem areas. So then for the owner, they never got that experience. You know. So now, I prefer, and my clients have been preferring just the do-it-themselves approach because they're learning so much more.
Yeah.
We train here because it's super busy. I'm like, in some cases, it's not realistic because they live like in a suburb.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you could train your dog here, a suburb is not going to be a problem. You know.
Okay.
And we're getting we're always getting the results we're looking for by the end of the time. Okay, and then it's your job, of course, to do the homework.
Yeah.
The socialization stuff or like, you know, typical behavioral things are simple. I just give you like the information on it, and then it's a matter of applying it. You know, so like let's say people coming over, if you have people over like once a month, it's gonna take a bit before you fully get it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just once a month. But if you have guests come over 3 times a week, it'll be a very quick process for you because you do it 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's again simple. The price point for the 6 classes is $825. Okay, and then the cost of the smaller is about $637 with tax. You get it on Amazon, it might be a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
Maria would send you the info.
But there's one brand.
Correct. Yeah, Dog Trust. And she sends you the make and model.
Okay.
And then you definitely want to have that by the first class. I always recommend that people read the manual. They fiddle with it because every now and then, because it is electric, they will send a lemon. You want to test to make sure it's working appropriately. Otherwise, return it just so we don't waste the class when it does happen. Or someone shows up and I'm like, oh, this collar is bad. Okay. They come with the warranty as well, so that's not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, so 1 year warranty. On Amazon, you can get like a 3-year warranty. I can extend it a little bit more.
Okay, cool.
The most common thing that happens is the battery dies out. So you charge the battery.
Oh.
So then you just go on the website, it's like $15-20, you replace it, then you're working, you know, like kind of that. Okay. Other than like the first class being leash walking, it's really just played by ear. If something pops up, you're like, hey Jesse, this happened, we've never seen it before, we're concerned, and you want to address it, then you just make a panic and readdress it. But then since it's a new thing that we didn't account for, we may not cover everything within that time frame.
Yeah.
So then you tell me at the end of the program, you're like, hey, this is great, we love it, awesome. I go, great, thank you for the opportunity, we're good. Otherwise, if we're like, we really want to cover this last thing that we didn't get to, I would tell you it's going to be a class or 2, and then Maria will invoice you for that class or 2, and then we cover it, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions?
Not really, no. I don't have yeah. I feel like I've talked to him about the last a lot before. And I mean, it's obviously been working with him, and I definitely
What you may see in the beginning
not.
is possibly more nervous or anxious type behavior,
Yeah.
and it's not making him worse. It's because now that you have a stressor, which is a collar, he's not used to it, so they get anxious in the beginning.
Okay.
But then, like Vito was like that when they first started.
Yeah.
He was like very anxious, right? And then like, but now he's like way better because they kept practicing, right?
Yeah.
So people feel bad because like, oh my God, the dog was scared. I'm like, no, I'm like, if you retract the discipline, they don't get better. You actually make it worse.
Yeah.
We work them through it. They get more confident. They get over it, and they're fine. Okay. Anything else?
Really. Back when I was listening at the beginning when we were setting each collar training with him, and how like I think I'll be over that the first time he starts barking at the door again, and I'm like that.
Yeah. But I always tell people it's like, because they had the incident like at the garage.
Yeah.
And I was like, when you have trouble, think of that.
Yeah.
Right?
And how
Exactly. And it's not electricity. It's not like a current.
no, it's like a vibration.
It's have you been to a chiropractor or a therapist? It's tension. Yeah. So like the labor pain contractions they create in men, same technology. It's just a muscle stimulator. So it's electric, but it's not electricity like a pager. You know, pager or a finger in an outlet.
Yeah.
This is just exactly. So
That's what I said. I definitely really want to get into top watch, get practice over and make sure
yeah.
fully get that up there. But definitely want to do for a while.
Sure. So then I'll talk to Maria. She'll get in touch with you. She'll reiterate everything, and then you talk it over amongst yourselves or whatever, and then you get back to her when you're ready. There's no rush, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of people on my calendar right now.
Yeah.
We had a long day today.
It's been quarantine activity training, John.
Well,
It's been like
so it went from like 30 to 40 clients to 0 once COVID hit. And then like we've been ramping it back up again. And because of COVID, we started recording.
Yeah.
And because we started recording, we have tons of content. And then people are like, holy shit, like your method works really well.
Yeah.
And there's proof. They're uncut, unedited. So I'm like, I just hope you go look at our videos. If you want to know what we're about, and if it works, look at our
Yeah,
videos.
we've been watching them. It's been really good.
Thank you.
We watched the Leave It one recently. Which was
Oh,
hilarious.
yeah.
We had our Leave It phase with him.
Sure.
Leave it, and he's just not doing.
Leave it is like so easy with remote collar. It's like
Yeah.
it's stupid easy.
Yeah.
So okay.
That's awesome. I talked. He's not like
Well, I've been indifferent to him. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
putting any pressure on him
That's
or like
true.
express
Very
boundaries.
true.
But yeah, if anything pops up, you let us know.
Okay.
Otherwise, when you're ready, just give us a holler.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, nice
Pleasure,
meeting you in
guys. Thanks for
person.
making the trip out.
Yeah.
If you see as a brother, right?
Yeah, I'm probably going
Sam's
over
your
there
brother?
tonight.
Yeah.
Swing by.
Tell him I said what's up.
Yeah.
I think Vito was there yesterday at my facility
She
yesterday.
was, yeah. I don't know if you heard their new little pup.
Oh yeah, he
Storm.
messaged me about it.
Yeah, she's big. She's Vito size, but she's a
Is
pup.
it a golden?
No, German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. Yeah. He messaged me. He's like, "Hey Jesse, so we're in a bit of a situation here."
It's
Yeah.
my dad, they're like co-workers who had a situation, foster kids. One of the foster kids can't handle the dog now. And he
You're
was
looking
like,
for foster
and they don't want to give it up to a shelter. Even though I was like, don't worry, that purebred German Shepherd will not be sitting in a shelter for long. But
Sure.
they're afraid about a breeder taking her, and she's not spayed yet. So
Oh, sure.
yeah, but I always forget how smart they are. I mean, we already have so many commands down that we've been working with Vito and Vicky for years now.
Sure.
They're like, goes right past them.
Yeah, he had messaged me about her.
She's cute. She's good.
Yeah, I haven't seen her though. So
No slobbering, no.
I don't like
slobber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's a lot.
Hard pass on that.
Yeah, but Vito does that. She's on my lap, and he lifts his face up. This rule. Like,
Yeah.
funny.
Turned her head one day and just
Oh, yeah, it's
flew
sprayed
out.
everybody. Yeah. No, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.